Hi and welcome to my PlayHouse. And today we're gonna continue a video that I didn't get to finish last week, where I took a server out of the rack. It was a IBM x3550. I can see it because it's on the shelf over here. I asked if anyone wanted it, wanted to trade something for it. No one was interested, so apparently I don't need to have it in my rack because no one is interested anymore. So today we're gonna put in some other servers, the x3550 Model 2 and the x3550 Model 3. I already have an x3550 Model 4 down here, so I'll have 2, 3 and 4. I thought that was cool. And we're not going to do anything with them, we're just going to have a good look at them while we put them in the rack. I thought that I had been a really nice guy and given away all my rails. I have a tendency to do that, so I was so lucky that I could think I have a couple of rails that will work for the server. But it was a close call. I had to go out into the garage and see what I had sitting around doing nothing out there. And yeah, I think I've managed to dig up a couple of rails. Here they are. This blue plastic thing is usually IBM rails, so it should be 2 pairs of IBM rails, and they need to have the right slots for the server to kind of pop into. So yeah, I found that if I gaffer these, there's a way better chance of them to staying together, and this is a very nice example of that working. So very cool. This is how cheap I am. I'm saving the tape in case that one of the pairs of rails doesn't work. It's actually cheap and lazy, because if they don't work, I would have to go to the basement and get the tape. So by saving it, I don't have to go to the basement if it doesn't work. So yeah, very nice system that kind of locks into place. You can see the racks has these squares over here, so this will go in to the rack like that. That's difficult to see. This one goes into the square and locks into place with this one. So yeah, that's gonna be fine. This is for over here. The other end is a bit different. It has another locking mechanism where it has the same thing that goes in and locks in place, but this one has a thing that goes out, and means that you get that on one side, and then this thing can lock in place, and it's not gonna go out by itself. Except if you dislock this thing, it will go out and you click it back into place. So, pretty neat. Let's just put this at the bottom. See if we... So we'll unlock it. And here we get it again for all the right-handed people. You usually need to have this shown twice. So we pop this up and release this thingy here. Put that in the rack. There, it's kind of already locked in place, and then pop that thing in, and it's not gonna go out, and it has a really good grip on both here, and there is also a metal thing down here that is locked into place, and when you release it, you press this and pop that out, and then you press the blue button down here and you can pop it out again. So I went around the back and I popped it in place back there, so now we can have the rails come out ready for the server to be put in. And that one as well. And the camera is in the way. There. And for a 1U server, these are really good. It's actually the same rails that are used for 2U servers in many cases. So they will also hold a 2U server, like these IBM x3550 Model 3s that are up here. They have about the same rails. I think we can see them. No, they don't actually have the exact same rails, so bad example. So over here on the shelf, we need to have this one out. It's the M3, x3550 M3. So let's have a look at that. Here it is, and yeah, what a disgrace. It has become dirty on the shelf. How can that happen? Yeah. So this server is from, let's see if we can find a date on it. It's from 2010. It's a mere 12 years old, so it's next to brand new. Let's see what you got in 2010 if you were getting a brand new x3550 M3. So here we are. So this is very similar to the x3650 Model 3. It has kind of the same build up. So we have two CPUs. We have power plugs here. Well, it actually only has one CPU, but it has room for two CPUs. Might be important for me to mention that. It has an air buffalo and another air buffalo, and it has room for 16 blocks of memory in here. Is that correct? No. It has room for 18 blocks of memory. Okay. And at present time it just has 2 blocks of memory. We could just swivel around here, and I can see from here that it's 2 4GB memory blocks. It has these small fans which can be really noisy. Let's see, we can take those up, can't we? Yeah. Because these small fans has to cool this big server, and it has to push enough air through to cool, well, it can be rather powerful CPUs that can be put in here, powerful, at least power hungry. So this server will do the full series of the Intel Xeon 5600 series up to the 5690, which has a power usage of 130 watts TDP. So yeah, cooling that, these small fans will tell you that they're working on it for sure. So in the back we have 2 small risers, one riser, yeah, 1 card in each. This one is the low form factor, and this one over here has a higher form factor, so you can put in a bigger card here. We can just see that. And funny enough, these were X16 slots, and these were perfectly normal in the x3550 models, where in the x3650 series they were very rare until the Model 4 of the server. In the x3650 M2 and 3 was a very rare thing, and something that you did not want to throw out if you got your hands on those. So, funny enough, it has some extra thing out here that is not connected to anything, so never mind. So this one has an LSI card over here. I think this is just an HBA. I'm not entirely sure. It actually also has a bit of a tiny little license key here. These can be worth good money. I didn't know that was in here. Can we focus on that? It's probably not important, but there, I might need that. So now we have a photocopy. So let's put that back. So the M2 and the M3 has this room over here for the RAID controller. It has a little card that pops up here, which is also where you pop in the internal USB key. If you want to boot like ESXi, you put in your bootable USB key here, and it will boot ESXi up on that, which I have always thought was a really good solution. Other than that, the front, we have room for, it looks like we have room for 4 hard drives. There, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one has a CD-ROM drive, and then it has the light on this module that tells us if something is wrong, and a label. So yeah, this is the first server we're gonna put in. There is a difference between this server and the M2 that we're gonna be seeing in a little bit. This one has 18 slots of memory. The next one we're gonna be seeing only has 16 slots of memory. So remind yourself to check that when I pop the lid off it in just a little bit. And talking about lid, you get a lot of help in these servers about what everything is. So on the lid here, there's a lot of help to what this server can do and how to change stuff and what is everything on the system board. So awesome. Oh yeah, and that light path diagnostics panel that I just popped out, there's a lot of stuff on that you wouldn't normally know what is, but there's a very nice quick explanation down here to what is the different stuff. M2 and the M3 also has this key in the back. This is extra features on the management port of the server, so you can do console screens on the server. You can from far away see what's on the screen of the server. It's really good to have. These were blotchy expensive when the server was new. Now they cost next to nothing. It's ridiculous. But when it only costs a few dollars, you don't want to miss it because you get a lot of good features with it. Let's just check the back. Nothing special here. We have the management port. We have 2 network connections, VGA, serial connection, a couple of USB connections, and 2 power supplies. So it's pretty normal. And I need to remember to put this plastic back. There. So mounting this server in the rack, we have these slots here, or sticky out naily things, and they fit up in the rail here. You can see there's one here, next one there, and the last one there. Some of the newer servers that are longer, they have 4 of them, so it's a bit harder to pop that in. This can be hard enough. You kind of have to line up the back one, have the server on an angle coming up like this, and then fit the last one there. I'll try and do it. It's very difficult to film. Okay, so we pop out this, lock it in place, and this is just a 1U server, so it's not that heavy. So I'm gonna line up one side, hold it in place with my leg, and then I should just be able to pop the server in. Okay, it needed a bit of persuasion. There are some white plastic things that holds the server in place, so now I'm not able to lift it out of there again. I have to pull these back on both sides, and then I can lift the server out and release it. So and normally you can just when you put the server in, these will pop back, and it didn't do that. So yeah, it was a little bit more of a struggle than normal. 1U server is easy. 2U and above can be really difficult. So the white piece of plastic in front of the server is just to release the server if you want to take it out. This blue one is when I have the server out like this. Right now it's not able to go in, but in each side there's a blue lever like this that I can press up, and then it will go in. Wait a couple of fingers, just push the server in. So I'm unwrapping the next pair of rails here. These are IBM rails. I'm not entirely sure. They kind of have an IBM number there. So let's see. They have 3 slots. 1, 2, 3. I think we're good to go. Let's try and put this in. So when you have the rail like this, besides that they help you and tell you that this is the right rail, you also need these slots to be on the top so that the server can pop into them. So this one needs to go in this way, like that, and we need to release this. It's kind of the same system but different, and it goes onto the metal. This needs to go out far enough to be locked into place, and all of these pins go through the rack and locks the rails into place. And on the other side there's this blue button, and before you use that, it's not able to go anywhere. But press the blue button. Come on. Press the blue button and it comes out, and press it again and it goes in. So yeah. So let's try that. See if I can fit that in. Oh, nope. And like that.
and press the boot button. Yeah, locked into place. These are like toolless rails. They are to be preferred over all the other ones. Here we have the other side, and see the slots that we need the server to go into. The server needs a slot. Okay, press the boot button, release. They haven't been used for quite a while. So yeah, I'll go around the back and lock it in place there. So up here on the shelf we have two of these servers. Which one is the best looking one? I think this one has less glue on the CD-ROM drive. So let's pick this one. There it is, and you can probably see it's very similar. This one is from 2009, so there's actually only 1 year between those two servers. It's not even a year, because that one that we just had a look at was from September, and this one is from July, so it's a little bit less than a year. So this is the Model 2, and then they quickly made the Model 3 when Intel came out with a new series of CPUs. So let's have the cover off, and yeah, same thing on the back, a lot of good information. If you get a server like this, be sure to check the back of it for information of different stuff. You can kind of see this one has two CPUs, so it has one more fan over here. The other one had fans, and then there was one missing. This one has the missing fan because of two CPUs in this one, and the other one had room for two CPUs, it just didn't have two CPUs, so not a big difference there. There is a little bit of a difference on the front here. You can see this one has room for 6 drives, and then they have moved the CD-ROM drive over here, and still it has the same light path diagnostics here. Actually, I think the layout of this is a little bit better with the room for 6 drives. Well, in the very new ones, you can actually have one with, I think, 10 drives. So they have managed to squeeze in more drives. Other than that, it's very similar. We can pop this out, and now we can see that there's actually, I said it, but there is room for 16 blocks of memory, and we have 4 GB blocks in this one, so there is 32 GB of memory in this one. Otherwise, it's very similar. You can see that the IMM key is here for the management module. This is exactly the same key, so you can take a key from one server and put it over in the other server, which is very nice and better than what they came up with for the M4, where you have a software key, and that's really difficult to move anywhere. So other than that, we can even the M2 here. Oh, we never had this out. We had the long one out on the M3, but it still has an X16 slot in there, so you could put in a tiny graphics card here. Also down here, the same thing was right for the M3. You can put in a daughter card, which will enable you to have 2 more network ports out the back. I do actually have some of those for sale in my shop, so if you're interested. 2 CPUs, I have no idea what CPUs are in this. I can tell you that this server will do 256 GB of memory. I found out in a video, even though when this server was new, 8 GB was the memory block that everybody was dreaming about. So in the documentation for both this server and the M3, the maximum amount of memory is obtained with 8 GB blocks, but it will actually do 16 GB blocks. It's not going to do 32 GB blocks. I have tested it. I did a video on that. It failed, but 16 GB blocks will work. So this one with 16 blocks of memory will do 256 GB, and I believe the M3 with the 18 blocks of memory, well, it will do 32 GB more, which comes to 288 GB of memory. That sounds about right. It's almost the same server. The M3 can do the entire series of the 5600 Xeon processors. The M2 here will not do the processors that uses the most power. It can't use processors that uses 130 watts, but it can do the top processors that I've tested in this is the X75 and the X79, which is 2 processors that was never widely available, what was special purpose processors that has become available because somebody like Google or some big hotshot bought a lot of these processors and they were running this, even though the 5679 is a bit more than the 90 watts that they claim that this can do, it will run. Over here we have the RAID controller, very nice big beefy one in this server. Takes up all the space in here, so that's cool. Have the same room here for booting on a USB key, very nice. In the front there's these 6 hard drives, so it uses both the channels on the RAID controller. Each of these channels are normally for 4 hard drives, and as there is 6, it needs to use both. I think yeah, the connections are similar. I don't think there is any different there. But yeah, SAS and SATA naturally. 2 power supply, I believe they are the same power supply as the M3 daughterboard, we did say that. It has about the same connections on the back. We have the management port, those 2 ports for the daughterboard, if you get those, 3 and 4, but 1 and 2 is in there, 1 gigabit ports. VGA, some LEDs, serial connection, and 2 USB connections, 2 power supplies and 2 expansion slots. So let's pop the lid back on again. These 1U servers are always a little bit more fiddly than the 2U. I have a piece of vented metal down here. Do I have anything to bend that up again? Ah, okay. I was able to do that by hand. It has to slot into that one, so to get a better connection there. Yeah, there. You can kind of see it. It's there. So let's see if we can put this in the rack. Let's see if I can put that back in the server. Dang it. See if we can get this right. These feels like cheaper rails than the other ones. Rails are not made equally. So let's get the server up. That's it. It went in really easily. So see here, if you want to release this server, now it's not able to come up, but there's a release thing here. So release that and the server comes up. Over this way, we have the same blue lever to pop the server back into the rack. So I'm gonna use those in both sides, and it slides in. There we are. And there we have my thumbnail, the M2, the M3 and the M4. Awesome. I just need an M5. Oh dear, then I have to move everything. Oh dear. I of course also need an x3550 without any M, the M1, which was not called M1. Yeah. So finally a video that went as it was supposed to go, and I'm gonna take the chance and I'm gonna remove the tape over here. I think it's not gonna be needed, and when these rails are gonna be taken out again, I'll put some new tape on there. So if you're in need of hardware, I very much recommend Bargain Hardware, and that is bargainhardware.co.uk, where you can purchase used refurbished hardware. If you're in the UK, you get that without all the crappy taxes that we in the EU needs to pay for anything from Bargain Hardware. Except if you're a business in the EU, you can skip around the taxes. They will help you do that. And if you use the checkout code MyPlayHouse, small letters, you'll get 5% off of your purchase.
and that is only for the first order, so make sure it's a big one. It's irritating to have made a small order and then the big order you don't get the 5% off. Do have that in mind if you're gonna purchase anything there. So thank you very much for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and have a really nice day. Bye bye.